Dr. Ronald Roopnarine from the University of West Indies. I saw you speaking a couple of times during the week, and you had very interesting things to say about the work you're doing on environmental disaster management. Is that right?
Yeah.
Will you tell us a little bit about that work?
A lot of the work focuses on sustainability, particularly with the water sector as well as the agricultural sector. We have been moving towards looking at nature-based solutions, wastewater reuse standards, the use of different mechanisms to encourage the use of renewable resources and so on in our islands. One of the key things was we look at an insect farming project where we are replacing the protein in animal feed using insect larvae. It's still in its preliminary stage. It's a collaboration with FAO, but it's something that I hope could create a new sector or a new industry in the region. Another thing that I think is critical is our agricultural sector, because agriculture was the backbone of many Caribbean economies initially. And over time, because of industrialization, tourism, the loss of preferential trade with the EU, our agricultural sector is no longer competitive on an international front. And until we are able to regain that level of competitiveness, it is going to be very difficult for the sector to really develop. I mentioned yesterday that I think it has to be rebranded, technology has to be included. It also has to be seen as something attractive for younger persons to be involved in agriculture, because portraying agriculture the way that it used to be portrayed with persons in the hot sun with forks and boots and so on, in my opinion, is not going to attract younger persons into it. So we have a whole holistic approach. The general things that we are doing is trying to promote sustainability, understand climate change, and also explain that or highlight that climate change is not something that is a concept that is we have no control over.
Yeah.
We may have no control in terms of changing the climate or influencing the global emissions, etc., because we're so small. However, people need to recognize that the consequences we face that we attribute to climate change is also a combination of things that we would have done to contribute to that outcome.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah?
So some work done, a lot more needed to be done.
Yeah, there's always work to be done, and I think, with conferences like this and with different innovators coming together and, policymakers, a critical thing that really blew my mind here was the fact that the opposition and the government were working together.
Yeah.
And that is one of the critical issues across the region. Because you have democracies, in most cases, 5-year terms, you tend to find whenever there's a change in party, that the policies and plans that were implemented by the previous administration are either scrapped or hardly ever continued. So you have this situation where developmental profiles are never continuous. You go up, down, and you may make limited progress over time. But that sort of thinking of governments and oppositions trying to work together on at least maybe a few things. Nobody is saying agree on everything, but it cannot be a situation where every time administration changes, you revert and you try something else. It limits our ability to progress.
Yeah, it does. Thanks very much for those words. And I mean, I shared ocean. Okay, so we've got an ocean remit and healthy oceans, but I understand obviously with the circular environment and the biodiversity that we can't have the forest and agriculture and the land usage doing one thing and the ocean doing another. I mean, they're ultimately connected. Rainfall, landfall, so on and so forth. So listen, between us we can practice eventually. Thank you.
Yeah, no problem at all. And the last thing too is, I think when we speak about sustainable development, it's a concept that is great in theory, but it is very difficult to explain that and to get persons who are struggling to make ends meet to understand and adopt.
100%.
And I always ask persons, which developed country actually followed the path that is being prescribed to the developing nations now? And that is something, the answer to that may be none. So it's a very difficult thing to work towards if you don't accept that there may be a need to monetize your resources before you can start thinking about sustainability.
Yeah.
Yeah?
True. Thank you.
Thank you.